Hey everybody, and welcome to our Camel Husbandry and Vet Care short course. We are thrilled to be here. I am doing it flying solo today. I'm kicking off this short course of Camel Husbandry and Vet Care with a few slides that I want to share with you today. So we're going to jump straight into it. I will tell you all about us in I think the second slide, but first we have a bit of disclaimer. Now I just need to shrink myself so you guys can still see me there. I'm still here, still human. And thanks so much for being here. Also, let us know if you can hear us, and also let us know where you're listening to us from, how many camels you have or how many camels you want, all that lovely stuff. So our first slide is actually going to be a disclaimer that we are not vets and we have not done any official scientific studies on camels. We're actually coming to you from camel owner to camel owner, and because we suffered so much, it feels like we suffered so much with getting things wrong, that we finally found an even plane, like, right, we have to share this camel information that we know about husbandry and vet care, and we just wouldn't give up until we had that information correct and down pat. So combined, Russell and I have over 35 years of that trial and error. And we've also been learning from camel vets all around the world, and hundreds of our students too. They come to us with their needs and requirements and husbandry questions and things like that. So there's always something new to learn, as you would know, working with camels and being with camels. So today we are here to serve you and your camels to the best of our ability. We just want to give you all this information. We will be talking about our Camel Academy, which is a paid membership, towards the end of this course. This is a bit of a taster, so we don't want to try and pull the wool over your eyes, but we're going to give you stacks of value in this free course, and if you want to take that further, there will be that opportunity as well. So we've got your back, apparently. So we will be bringing a specialized camel vet in on it says day 5. It's actually day 4 of this course because we had to cut a day out. We had prior commitments. And she's amazing, Margie Bale. We just done an intro video a couple of hours before this video, so you can go back and watch that. Just to, who we are and what we look like and all that sort of stuff. It's always interesting to know what camel people look like, right? Now, ultimately, we are not responsible for any of the outcomes that you do or don't have during this short course, or whatever you decide to implement or not implement. So here we go. You ready, guys? I'm so excited to share all this stuff with you. So lesson 1, what we'll cover in this first lesson is healthy humps, why the size and shape of a camel's hump matters, nutrition and feeding of camels, and the one thing that causes camel health issues. So we're starting at the start for you guys. So some of the stuff you may have heard already, or maybe you haven't heard at all, but just stick with, stay, as we say, stay in the room, because you're bound to learn something new here. Our information is constantly evolving as well as we work with more and more camels, not just in our developed countries, but also in third world countries as well. So here we go, first lesson. I'm not used to using PowerPoint, so we'll say, this is who we are. So I'm Tara, and Russell's in the photo here, the tall man, obviously, the tall human man. And we're the world leaders in camel training, handling and psychology. So we travel all around the world teaching our Camel Connection trust-based camel training method. We are just deeply passionate about it. Like it's taken years to formulate, and working with many, many camels. And we finally found a foundational training that just sticks to every camel. It works for every camel. And yeah, so excited to be able to share that. We share that online as well as in-person courses. So we've got our virtual camel school and then our in-person camel school courses, clinics, whatever you want to call them. So we mentor camel owners and camel lovers just like you guys here. This is why we exist, like we get so much joy when we see clients and students of ours who are having great success with their camels, whatever that means for them. It could be just, you know, being able to handle them as a pet, or walking across the country, like whatever it is. We're just so proud of all our students, and I know some of you are listening, and you know we're proud of you. So, and if you don't, you now do. So yeah, like I said, we run camel training courses all around the world with dromedary and Bactrian camels. We don't get to play with Bactrian camels as much as dromedaries, obviously, because there's only dromedary camels in Australia. But when we get the chance, it's such a pleasure. We absolutely love it. We love them. Okay, so lesson 1, the hump size. We're going straight into why the healthy hump, basically. So I put 2 pictures in here, and the picture, I don't know if you see my mouse moving, but over here is a picture of, so there's this like creamy colored camel. So she is what we would class as slightly underweight. She's still got a hump. Now, there is a bit of a disclaimer here too. Like what we class as you know, underweight camels in our more developed countries like Australia and the United States isn't necessarily what they would class that as an unhealthy camel in, you know, the United Arab Emirates or India or places like that. So we've come to a sort of an even plane here. So you know, we've been able to travel to these other countries as well. So we've been able to establish some sort of even ground here, because let's face it, I mean, our camels in the United States and Australia are mostly overweight. I mean, it's a very, very common thing, and we're going to get into more of that details, how to manage that later on. So the creamy colored camel, she's a bit underweight there, and you can see she's got this pot belly thing happening. That could mean several things, but also when a camel is putting on weight, they do this fat skinny thing, like kind of they start building out in the hump, and then they sort of tend to lose a bit of weight, and then they get really round in the back, like they get growth spurt sort of thing. Now the other camel, this beautiful blonde camel, was she pregnant then? No, I think she just had a baby. But she is what we would class as a good size hump. Now, if you have a good look at the pictures, you can see with a creamy colored camel that you can definely see where her hump is. But with the blonde camel, you can kind of see, now she's actually got a winter wool there, so you can't really see. But if you went by feel with the blonde camel, you'd be able to feel where her hump starts and ends. Now, when you can't feel where it starts and ends, it generally means they're obese. And this can be different for every camel, but this is the general rule that we give our students. But something like this camel, this other little camel with the pot belly, she's definitely more underweight, and either she's losing weight or trying to put weight on. So those are the 2 different things there. We do have next slide on Bactrian camels, because this is another thing to speak about, really, because you can see there's some floppy humps in the 2 top pictures. That one, you know, there's 2 flopped over, there's 1 flopped over, and then down the bottom you've got 2 perfectly upright humps. Excuse me. Now, there, you know, most people would look at that, like people that are familiar with camels would look at that and go, well, that camel's too skinny, or it's losing weight, and that's why the humps flop. But there is another reason. I'm going to share that in the next slide. But you can kind of see even, and this is not one thing I plan on covering, but it just occurred to me that if you look at their wool or their coat and just how they appear, you can also get a really good indication on how healthy that camel is. There's lots of different signs, and we're going to get into that later on. But you know, it's kind of like that when a dog's really healthy, they have that real shine to their coat, like that camel in the picture below. Absolutely gorgeous, and just, you know, you can see that that's a well-fed camel, and you know, he's not too fat, he's not too skinny, you know, or obese or underweight, whatever words you want to use. Don't want to use any nasty words, do we? So this is why the hump size matters. So every camel has a different genetic makeup, which can determine how well they keep weight on or not. And this includes during illness as well. It's just like humans, you know. Sometimes other people are prone more to get sick, and others are not. And it's the same with camels and their genetic makeup. So going back to this slide with the we'll go even to the dromedary one. You know, this girl here, her name's Tula. She's one of these both our camels. But she's actually put on weight now, but she's never really going to get a hump like this blonde camel over here, because it's not like, she's more long and lanky and lean sort of thing, and this camel, is the blonde one, is more bulky. Now, so we're talking a lot about genetics here too. This is why it's so important to know your camel, so we can give you these ground rules, so to speak, and then you can just tweak it to your camels. But there's a couple of reasons why a Bactrian camel might have floppy humps. One of them is definitely that it's lost weight. But another one is genetic as well. And I'm suspicious that this dark Bactrian over here, it's a genetic thing, because he's got a really healthy back hump there. I don't know that for sure. These are just Google images. But a floppy hump in a Bactrian can also be a genetic thing. No matter how much you feed them, they will always have one floppy hump. Two floppy humps, I've even seen that as well. So you know, get to know your camel, and even its breeding and its parents and things like that, if you're concerned about that sort of thing, about its humps. I'm just going to take a sip of water. So we talked a bit about the genetic makeup. Every camel is different. Some will put on weight really quickly and really well. Like, we've got camels in our herd that, you know, they can get fat just by sniffing air, it seems. But then other camels, it's like we're really trying to feed them up and keep the weight on them. So the next point here is young camels will go through growth spurts, which I did cover a little bit in the first slide. With the dromedary camels, is that they will put weight on and take weight off. A lot of people get concerned when their camel's growing, like, oh, my camel's just got you know, it's just gotten real skinny, and, you know, all these changes in the bodies happening, sort of thing, and they get really concerned. But it's a really normal thing. We see it time and time again with all our students and their young camels, is camels will put the weight on, and then it looks, you know, they're starting to fill out, and you feel really good about yourself because you feel like you're doing something right, and then they'll start losing weight, but they've grown, you know, upwards or lengthways or what have you. So that is very common in young camels. It's just important to stick to a really good feeding program for them, which we'll cover that shortly. An obese camel is not a healthy camel. And I'll just move my face up here. It is a very common thing, you know, in our developed countries, America and Australia, from our experience with camels, is this obese camel thing. People in Australia will say, oh, that's a healthy camel, but no, it's an obese camel. And I mean, it's just like, you know, there's so many health concerns with that, is that, you know, they can get arthritis a lot earlier. They cannot, you know, cope with the workload if they're working. They can get feet issues, and of course they're putting all that strain on their internal important organs as well. It's just like, you know, it's just like us humans, you know, when we're obese, it's not healthy for us. And it's the same with the camels. So don't ever think that you're doing your camel a favor by overfeeding them, because in fact you're actually losing money, because if you're overfeeding them, that camel is not utilizing that energy, which is their hump is a fat store, to grow. You know, I mean, I could go on about that for another half an hour, but overfeeding them, they're not utilizing their natural abilities to withdraw off their hump, which is full of fat, which is, you know, again, like this amazing source of food for them. Obviously, I'm not saying starve your camels. That is not what I'm saying. We're going to get into feeding shortly. But all in all, actually, I've got another slide that explains this further, and then it might really click for you. So the next point here is camels are designed to gain and lose weight. Just think their natural environments. Bactrian camel in Mongolia, they will get really, you know, put on a lot of weight in the summertime and the springtime when the grasses are green and, you know, delicious and all that sort of stuff and full of proteins and sweetness and everything. And then it will get to winter, you know, like minus 40 degrees Celsius. And they obviously are withdrawing off their fat reserves. There's not that fodder around, and they end up losing weight, which could mean a floppy hump. So that, and in the dromedary camels are the same. Like they will lose weight and gain weight in the better seasons, the rainier seasons, or when things are fresher, because camels prefer to eat fresher vegetation. You know, like this is what they're designed to do. They have humps. And like we never have the same feeding regime for our camels. It changes with the season. You know, for a good 12 months there, we were buying hay constantly. And then we had really good rains with really good spring grasses and, you know, shrubs and shoots and stuff popping up everywhere. And we didn't need to buy it. The camels were not, if we had bought hay, the camels would not be interested in it because, you know, they prefer the freshest food. Yes, they're designed, you just, you know, through all of this camel husbandry thing, all you have to think of their natural environment. What do they do when they're up to their free will in, you know, for the Bactrians in places like Mongolia, or for the dromedaries in the warmer climates or deserts? You just really got to think like a camel would be out there, and a lot of the answers will come for you. And feeding's not the same throughout the whole year because the seasons changes. A sick camel it's really hard to put weight on them. So it's really hard if a camel's at a healthy weight and they get sick, they won't go down as quickly. I know this so well, unfortunately. We've had a lot of camels. We just got a really bad batch. I hate to say it like that, but a really bad batch of unhealthy camels that we got from out in the desert. And went through a lot of heartache with some of those. A lot of them aren't even with us anymore. So, you know, this is why we come on here, guys, is to share this information with you, is because we don't want you to have to go through stuff like that. A sick camel that is already underweight, it's really hard to put weight on. And we're going to go through what sickness looks like soon. So just stick with us. So let us know in the comments, guys, anything that you found interesting with any of these slides. If there's something new that you just learned, let us know in the comments. We want to hear from you. The more interaction that we have with each other, the better it's going to be for everybody and their learning in this very short time that we have together. Now, let's go to the next one. So, okay, now we're on to nutrition and feeding of camels. So, as you may or may not know, camels are ruminants and they have 3 stomachs. So the ruminants means that they regurgitate their food, they chew it again, and, you know, this whole cycle goes around and around. Amazing. Like, I really like ruminant animals. I have goats as well. I don't know. I think they're cool. I don't know why. So, you know, I'm not an expert on the biology of that. We will have our camel vet, Margie, coming on day 4 for a longer talk, and we'll talk more about biology then. And she's a real science nerd, so she's really going to blow your minds with that sort of stuff. So stick with us for that. So did you know, let us know in the comments, did you know that camels are actually browsers and not grazers? So what that means is they're not designed to eat, you know, in fields, just the grasses in the fields and things like that, or paddocks. They're actually designed to browse, which means that they, like, for instance, I can only use the desert as an example, this is the best kind of example, whether it's in Mongolia or Australia or anywhere really, is that camels will actually spend their whole entire day and they've tracked this in Australia, they've tracked it. They put tracking collars on camels. Camels will walk up to 50 kilometers per day just foraging for food. Just, you know, going for all the different species of plants and whatnot. Like, it's an amazing thing. Like, and down here, one of our points is, you know, what that maybe it could have been the same study, I'm not sure, but the study that was carried out in Australia observed that camels ate 81.5% of plant species that was available to them, in that particular area. So if camels have a choice between eating trees, shrubs, or what have you over grasses, they will eat that. So if you don't want your trees eaten and you've planted them and you've spent all these years watching them grow and you don't want them wrecked, definitely keep them away from the camels, because they will wreck them. And of course, camels have this beautiful split upper lip, which is well suited for the purpose, like little forks sort of going out and, nibbling. Amazing. And they actually, so camels, I don't have a picture here of a camel's mouth, but camels don't have teeth at the front, like on the front top jaw, I suppose you could say. They have teeth at the back up the front, but they don't have teeth at the front. It's actually a big, hard, it's like our gum would be, a plate, and that allows them to strip trees. Now, this is a difference between camels and other animals, is they don't chew trees. They strip them. Like if there's delicious leaves on that, they will strip the tree. So that actually allows the foliage on the tree to grow back quicker. So in the next, I don't know, 3-4 weeks, depending on the season, there'll be new foliage there for the camel. And in the desert, they'll just circle, like they know, okay, well, once I come back there, there'll be that beautiful green leaf again. So they strip it, and then it gives that chance to grow back. Obviously, if they just ate the twigs off, they would wreck the tree, but they're actually stripping it, which is really cool and really resourceful. Incredible creatures. And they are very selective feeders, and they prefer the freshest vegetation available. Like you think of spring rain, and then you get a bit of sun the following few days, they'll be out there getting the tops off, and it's so sweet for them because the sun's on it. So they like the freshest stuff. I mean, this is why when we took our camels from the desert to a more domestic situation, which we have here, where we're on the coast, on the east coast in Australia, our camels are like looking at hay and just going, yeah, I don't, like, where's the good tucker sort of thing. So it took them a little bit of while to get used to hay, but they will prefer the fresher stuff. Again, grasses are secondary to a camel's diet. They need a high bog diet. Camels will graze for 8 hours a day and take another 6 to 8 hours to chew their cud. So you can just imagine them out in the desert. They've walked 50 kilometers. They've foraged. They're having a great time. May or may not found water, and then they'll sit down, for the whole night and just chew their cud. Cruisy life. Okay, so move my face down here. So camels are naturally browsers, not grazers. These are some photo. I know I really wanted to emphasize this point because people just assume, this is a lot of the reasons why we have so much problems with the camel husbandry side of things, is because we're not feeding them what their body needs.
We hope that you enjoyed this short lesson in camel husbandry and vet care. This is part of our short course that we're doing at the moment. It's a free short course that's online. And if you want to listen to the rest of this lesson, and we've also got lesson 1, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and of course we've got our Camel Vet Talk, which is our final lesson. If you want to get hold of those, make sure you go over to our website and register for these free short courses. You'll see a big flashy banner up there just saying Camel Husbandry and Vet Care short course. So if you want to get the rest of this lesson and the other 3 lessons, head over to camelconnection.com now to register for these courses, which are only available for a very limited time. So make sure you go ahead and do that so your camel can have the best care possible.